Hi, everyone. This is Empowering Democracy. I'm your host, Joe Firestone. I must apologize for being late. Some of the lateness, very little, was caused by my participation in Around the World with Brandy and Dee. That was a great show about the situation in Israel right now and the mental shift that both Israeli Jews and Palestinian Jews have to make. It was a brilliant speech that we discussed by Rabbi Sharon Brous, okay, of the ICAR congregation in Los Angeles. She is the head rabbi there, and I really recommend it. Hers was a tremendous speech, and I think our discussion of it was very, very good as well. Okay, so I really recommend that. But most of my lateness was due to the fact that twice I failed to go live when I thought I was going live. And that's why, uh, okay, I was late, okay, by 8 minutes. I hope that there are still some of you here, but evidently not. So there are no comments yet. But if anybody's here, please do make a comment. It says can't post comments in some destinations. So something did go wrong. I just don't know what it was exactly. But anyway, let me continue. This is Empowering Democracy. I'm Joe Firestone. This is a Dump the Corruption show. And we'll be examining the fundraising of Suzanne Bonamici from the state of Oregon, Matthew Cartwright from Pennsylvania. Hi, Judith. Thank you very much for coming. And Troy Carter from Louisiana. And I may be joined by some of my friends, okay, in a moment or two, but hopefully, I will. But I'm going to begin this broadcast with Troy Carter and his fundraising activities in the election of 2022. If I seem a little shaken tonight, it was because I participated in the earlier discussion came from Around the World with Brandy, okay, and Dee, and that was a very, very emotional discussion and a wonderful show. And again, I highly recommend it, okay, to all of you. Here is Troy Carter's Open Secrets page. You should be able to see it now. I will double check that you can. Yes, it is there. That's very good. If it'll allow me just another second or two, I will share this to my page on Facebook as well, so it gets there. Okay, so that does that. Since I can see the Facebook comments from here now, I will close my Facebook page and go back to Troy Carter's page. So, he is from a very Democratic district in Louisiana. He's an incumbent. He raised $63,338. He spent $3,075,582. He emerged with cash on hand of $366,187. His main competitor was Dan Lux, a Republican. he raised $32,371 and spent $36,050. And he ended his race. He was negative $3,581 as of November 22nd. That was his last report. Troy Carter's last report was December 31st, 2022. This was in some ways a strange race. Karen Carter Peterson was another Democratic candidate, in this race. She lost the primary to Troy Carter. But it turns out there was a lot of money from outside groups, from super PACs, and from carry committees in this race. Karen Carter Peterson, who was opposing Troy Carter, in the primary, was given by outside groups $1,804,270. She was opposed by outside groups to the tune of $309,446. So there was way more spending on Karen Carter Peterson's behalf. She was a Democrat also. Troy Carter was supported by outside groups only to the extent of $28,600, and he was opposed. There were negative ads by outside groups against him of $1,011,739. So if you look at the money supporting Karen Carter Peterson and the money opposing Troy Carter, and you add the two of them together, you get $2.9 million being spent in order to defeat Troy Carter by outside groups. That's quite a lot of money from outside groups. But Troy Carter won anyway, and we'll go take a look right now to see. We'll look at the candidates page, and that will tell us how close this race was. Of course, he was running against a Republican in a final race. In that race, he got $3,063,338, and he won by 77.1% of the vote. I guess this doesn't give us the final total, in the primaries, but it does give us some valuable data on, first of all, individual contributions less than $200 to Troy Carter, $36,682. That was only 1.2% of the funds he raised. His large individual contributions, greater than 200, in other words, mostly from fairly well-off people and very rich people, those were 1,918,851, 62.64% of what he raised. Another 37% was given to him by PACs, 1,135,905. So immediately we see he fails the litmus test because he accepted very large contributions, from rich people, from wealthy people, and he also accepted very large contributions from PACs, and those are two sources of funds that are prohibited by the litmus test. So we can see immediately that he fails it. But let's see what else we can learn as we go through here. we look at Karen Carter Peterson here. Well, we can see her fundraising here. And we saw that before, so that's not. She had individual contributions of 905,891. So she got most of her contributions from individuals. We do not know whether those were small individual contributions or large individual contributions because it doesn't give that particular breakdown here. There was some candidate self-financing from Karen Carter Peterson, about $14,549. Her PAC contributions were $167,132, which would exclude her based on her PAC contributions. If you'll excuse me for a minute, I will let one of my friends in, specifically Dee Pierce, co-host of the Around the World with Brandy and Dee show. Hiya, Kay. How are you?
Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody here.
And also my very good friend who has, in general, for the last couple of weeks anyway, the last 3 weeks or so, been functioning as my co-host. So hi, Dee. How did the rest of the discussion go?
Oh, it went good. And then Brandy and I were talking afterwards about our next show.
Good.
So
Okay, that was a terrific show
it was.
tonight.
It was a wonderful message for everybody to hear.
Yes, I think it was too. So we are in the middle of discussing the candidates tonight. The first candidate we were discussing, or the first race we were discussing, was in the race in the Louisiana congressional district, and there was a primary there that was very vigorous from the standpoint of fundraising anyway. Troy Carter, okay, is the incumbent in that district, okay, the second district, okay, of Louisiana. He was opposed in the primary by Karen Carter Peterson, and she got lots of support from outside spending. And we saw that on this screen. But I'm sorry, we saw that, okay, on another screen. But anyway, the outside spending she had in her favor, either supporting her or against Troy Carter, amounted to $2.9 million. It was just incredibly large. But Troy Carter, who was the incumbent, won anyway, with 77.1% of the vote. But I'm sure the politics of that campaign, okay, were very interesting. Both candidates, both Troy Carter and Karen Carter Peterson, failed the litmus test. And in the final race, when Dan Lux, a Republican, ran against Troy Carter, he raised very little money, and he was not able to compete. He did take large individual contributions. He did a lot of candidate self-financing there, which is also part of the litmus test. If you do candidate self-financing, that's also something that excludes you as well. Being a part of the litmus test. So Troy Carter won rather handily, but he was opposed in the primary by a huge amount of super PAC money and carry committee money. and/or carry committee money. So that's interesting to note. We're running a little behind, so I'm going to speed up now. Now, here are contributors to Troy Carter. American Federation of Teachers, 22,800. River Birch Incorporated, 22,800. The Oxner Health System, 21,750. National Association of Letter Carriers, 20,000. Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union, 20,000. Most of these sound like they were PAC contributions. This note says, these tables list the top donors to candidates in the 2021-2022 hack selection cycle. The organizations themselves did not donate. Rather, the money came from the organization's PACs, their individual members or employees or owners, and those individuals' immediate families. By looking at the names of the contributors, you can see that most of them look like their organizations of some kind, and therefore the likelihood is these contributions were PAC money. Though in the case of the law firm, Janes Walker LLP, it could well have been from the individuals in the law firm. Anyway, going over some of the other contributions too, there was a contribution from Comcast Corp, $18,000. LHC Group, $17,800. There were a lot of middle-sized contributions from PACs, and unions, from tribes. We'll learn more about the distribution of these when we go to other tabs here. For example, when we look at industries, Troy Carter raised $277,910 from lawyers and law firms, $116,150 from lobbyists, $102,954 from real estate, $88,501 from leadership PACs, public sector unions, $88,300. Sea Transport Union, $86,850. They must be big in his district because he's probably near the ports in Louisiana. Building trade unions, $86,000. And retired people, $74,200. Hospitals and nursing homes, $67,000. Health professionals, $66,821. And some more unions. I'm not going to read everything. You get kind of the picture of the industries here. Dan Lux was supported by almost nobody, so I don't think I have to go over his pattern of contributions very much. When we look at sector totals, we see agribusiness, $68,550. Communications electronics, $81,325. Construction, $89,850. Defense, $15,200. Energy, natural resources, $91,900. The fire sector, $242,000. They're always big, at least for many of these candidates. The health sector, $197,860. They're always big. Lawyers and lobbyists, $394,060. Transportation, $166,985. Labor, $296,346. For miscellaneous business, $154,467. Audiology, single issue groups, $228,964. And others, $141,947. And you can see Dan Lux got only small contributions from a few sectors. Dan Lux was his Republican opponent. this page doesn't give comparable figures for primary opponents that he may have had. The PACs page shows business, labor, ideological split in political action committees' contributions. There you can see the business PACs largely outweigh the others considerably. Let's look at the table to find that. The business PACs gave him $624,622. Labor PACs gave him $307,546. That's already over $900,000. The ideological PACs gave him $203,814. So he was over $1.1 million from PACs alone. So of course he was a PAC man, and as we read, also he was very big into large individual contributions as well, as we saw on the first page. The outside spending in this race, here we see what I said before about Karen Carter Peterson, $1,804,270 spent in the primary race by super PACs and carry groups, and Troy Carter. Okay, there was 309,446 in opposition to Karen Carter Peterson. Outside groups for Troy Carter, only $28,600. But opposed to Troy Carter, 1,001,700. I'm sorry, it was $1,011,739. So altogether, $2.9 million, greater than $2.9 million, spent either supporting Karen Carter Peterson or against Troy Carter. $2.9 million gap in that aspect of things. Now, Troy Carter raised $3 million himself in the whole race, so he was able to raise enough money to win anyway. But I'm sure the primary was touch and go for him. Looking at the super PACs, Americans, Jobs, and Growth PAC, that's a Republican PAC, $123,061. Black Lives Matter PAC, well, that was a carry committee, and they spent $132,202 in favor of Troy Carter. The Congressional Progressive Caucus PAC spent another $214,988 in support of Troy Carter. Carry Committee, Elbert Guillory's America gave $25,000, presumably to, well, I don't know whether they gave that to the Republican candidate. He raised really very little money. They might have given that to Karen Carter Peterson, even though she's not a Republican. Okay, the Gator PAC did some outside spending also, and so they gave $11,000. I don't know who that was for exactly. The LCV Victory Fund, Super PAC, I don't know what they're about. I'm not sure who they gave that money to. I don't think they couldn't have given it to Troy Carter. That must have gone to Karen Carter Peterson, because Troy Carter only had something like $300,000 in external spending. Planned Parenthood gave $16. I don't know who to. The March On PAC gave $21,489. I don't know who received that. Progress for the People gave $200,485. That was probably to Karen Carter Peterson also. Protecting Our Rights, Our Vote Super PAC, 14,500. The Sierra Club only gave $10 to someone. Trust the People gave $87,950. I'm not sure to whom. Okay. Unite and Prosper PAC, that was a Republican PAC. They gave $4,600 to one of the Republican candidates. The Women Vote PAC, Super PAC, gave $1,951,000. That had to be to Catherine Carter Peterson. So that's kind of interesting. So I think we're ready to move on, except to say that both Catherine Carter Peterson, who was running as a Democrat, and the incumbent and winner, Troy Carter, both failed the litmus test. So, moving on to Matt Cartwright in Pennsylvania. Let me share his page. Have you any comments on that last one, Dee?
No, it just all seems to be the same old, right?
Yes, except what was outstanding in that one was the amount of spending by those external groups on Karen Carter Peterson, $2.9 million. I mean, that's really strong and huge. And he also raised from other sources over a million. Well, she also raised another million from other sources. So she outraised Troy Carter considerably, roughly 4 million to 3 million. That was an interesting aspect of that race. Here's Matt Cartwright. He was the incumbent in the Pennsylvania district. I think that was the Pennsylvania 8th. Yeah, Pennsylvania 8th, 2022. He raised $5,299,193. He spent $5,417,000. And he had cash on hand at the end of $52,620. So that was a tightly contested race, I think. His Republican opponent spent almost $3 million, raised $3 million, spent a little more than that. Still finished with cash on hand of $96,083. Republican's name was Jim Bognet. Bognet, interesting name. So in outside spending, here we can see there was a lot of outside spending too. Supporting Matt Cartwright, there was 356,911. But opposed to Matt Cartwright was 6,589,716. In support, of Bognet, there was $575,477. So he was up around 7 million among the outside groups, where Matt Cartwright, in the outside groups, got about a little over $6 million. So the outside groups were tightly competing in that race. Let's see now how well Matt Cartwright did in votes to win that race. He did win, of course. He got 51.2% of the vote, so it was a very close race. Okay. Small individual contributions were substantial for Matt Cartwright, 446,402. So he must have had something of a ground game, but they were small percentage wise, 8.42% of what he raised. Large individual contributions he relied on heavily. He raised in excess of $3 million in large individual contributions. So he was dependent on wealthy individuals to a great extent, or people making contributions greater than $200. That was 57.72% of his fundraising. He also took a lot of PAC money. That was 1,548,849, and that percentage was 29.23%. So there were other people, there were other categories of contributions that were given to Matt Cartwright, 244,996, which is a small percentage, 4.62%, but still ain't hay, especially when you're in a race where your opponent is also getting lots and lots of money. So Bognet, who had 48.8% of the vote, raised 2,976,738 on his own and spent 3,014,142. His types of contributions we can see from here. Small individual contributions were 336,945, which again ain't hay, but his large individual contributions were almost $1.7 million in large individual contributions, basically fairly wealthy people or rich people. And then PAC contributions was 660,000. So there was a failure of the litmus test on both sides, and we're not even looking at the super PAC business here, which is evidently, which we saw already, was very, very substantial. But we'll look more closely at the super PAC contributions later. Jim Bognet, or Jeff Bognet, whichever he is. Let's see, is he Jim or Jeff? Jim Bognet got did some self-financing. It's very small, $2,661. And the other categories of contributions, 285,000 that he raised. So the fundraising in this race was very, very healthy on both sides. Let's look at contributors who were very often PACs. Remember this note that the organizations themselves don't do the donations. Rather, the money come from their PACs, their individual members or employees or owners, and these individuals' immediate family. So, League of Conservation voters gave Matt Cartwright $102,300. Frontline USA, that's a PAC, that gave him $38,685. Give Green United Action, that was probably a PAC also, gave him $34,646. Gentex, which is a company, gave him $32,362. APAC gave him $21,500. J Street gave him $19,700. So he got it from two pro-Israel groups, but J Street is also supportive of Palestinian rights. So that was interesting. Seafarers International Union, 18,000. Okay, Digidem's PAC, $17,712. He got something from Boeing. That was probably a Boeing PAC, $16,300. There was a wide range of contributions here. relatively small, but lots and lots and lots of them. In Bagnet's case, he got 101,673 from the House Freedom Fund, which means he's pretty far right. The Tiger PAC gave him 15,000. The Majority Committee PAC, that's Republican, gave him 15,000. So he had a lot of medium-sized contributions that are listed here, okay, as well. Let us go now to. Okay, feel free to interrupt me anytime, Dee. If you think I've missed anything or.
Well, actually, you don't have it on the screen, so I'm.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm glad you reminded me. Always remind me, okay, if I don't have it on the screen, because it just means I forgot.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't mean I didn't want to show it. It just means I forgot.
Right, I know, because you're telling everybody what's on it, so it's not like you're trying to hide anything.
Yeah, it's not like I'm trying to hide everything, but if people can see it, they can maybe see a point I missed, or or one that you missed, or you know. Matt Cartwright from Lawyers and Law Firms. Catch this one. Okay, this is the industries. $672,433. And retired people, $397,181. Leadership PACs, $352,433. Securities and investments, $258,266. Environment, $160,046. Those are all big contributions. Candidate committees gave them $133,050. From Democratic and liberal groups, $125,691. From real estate, $114,588. From public sector unions, $97,500. Education groups, $95,276. Transportation unions, $82,250. Building trade unions, $79,000. Health professionals, $79,000. In other words, a lot of large contributions to Matt Cartwright from various industry and association groups. Jim Bognet from Leadership PACs, $427,413. From Republican conservative groups, $232,000. From retired people, $212,298. Securities and investments, $132,000. Again, very large contributions coming in from various groups. He didn't do as well with the law firms, though. $58,337,000. It's well known that lawyers mostly line up behind the Democrats in politics, of course. And you see that here in the contrast between the two. So we're getting along here. Let's go to the sectors. That should make things even more clear. Sector totals. Agribusiness, 4,450, which immediately tells you that Cartwright's constituency is mostly urban. Communication electronics, 175,077. Construction, 60,620. Defense, 96,862. Energy, natural resources, 45,125. Finance, insurance, and real estate, the fire sector, for a Democrat, $528,155. But the lawyers and lobbyists came in even more strongly for him, $700,183. Transportation sector, $107,000. And miscellaneous business, $218,000. Labor, $351,200. Ideology single issue groups, 877,072. I can't say that any groups, are dominating here. They all seem to be very active in giving big quantities of money to Matt Cartwright. He evidently has quite a fundraising machine going there, and it was lucky that he did, because all that external spending, external to the campaign, outside spending, that was really, really heavy in favor of his opponent. So, looking again at the PACs, business PACs, 632,512 for Cartwright. Labor PACs, 346,750 for Cartwright. Ideological PACs, 549,970 for Cartwright. So we're looking at what, about $1.5 million from PACs. Very heavy into PACs. We've already seen that he's also very, very heavy in to groups of people who have money and who can give him large contributions. Taking another look at the outside spending through that particular tab, we have in support of, well, I did this before, but opposed to Matt Cartwright, $6.589 million. Opposed to Bognet, his opponent, $5.8 million. Support of Bognet, $575,000. So this is notable because even though a lot of money was given by outside, a lot of outside spending was done in favor of both of them, the main thrust of the outside spending was negative on both sides. 6.6 million opposed to Cartwright, 5.8 million opposed to Bognet. So the negative outside money spending here was over $12 million. That's a lot of negative ads, folks. A lot of negative ads. So that's very interesting. See who the super PACs are and the carry committees and the PACs doing outside spending. The American Leadership PAC, that was for Bognet. American Values First. I'm sorry. The American Leadership PAC is a super PAC. The American Values First is a super PAC. The Associated General Contractors, that's a PAC. Blue America, that's a super PAC. Of course, the American Leadership PAC, $56,924. American Values First, $65,070. Those went for Bognet. There was a Catholic Vote Super PAC that went for Bognet, $49,557. Oh, and they made another contribution too. Oh, so they had a 501c4. So that's actually like a PAC, and they gave $5,000 from that PAC in outside spending. And the super PAC from Catholic Vote, did 49,557 outside spending, probably negative against Matt Cartwright. Climate Power Action Super PAC gave 85,000. I should say, did 85,285 spending on behalf of Matt Cartwright. I could go through these some more, but we're a little bit behind. The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, in outside spending, they're a PAC, they gave 3,052,173 in support, or did spending in support of Cartwright. The Congressional Leadership Fund, which is a carry committee, did 2.4 million in favor of Bognet. Let's see, any other really big contributions here? 174,248 from the House Freedom Fund PAC. This is an external spending. And in the carry committee, the House Majority PAC, that's Democratic, spent 2.5 million in outside spending, either in favor of Cartwright or against Bognet. Not sure which. The NRDC Action Vote, that's a Democratic Super PAC, gave 311,000, or supported Cartwright to the extent of 311,000. The Republican Jewish Coalition Victory Fund Super PAC gave $436,470, or spent $436,470 in support, of Bognet. So those were the large contributions. I was going over there. I think the outside spending part of that was, to me, rather fascinating. Okay, the last candidate we're going to go over is Suzanne Bonamici. In her summary data, she raised $1,033,000, spent $961,156, emerged with cash on hand of $625,761. This is a heavily blue district. I don't think she's a particularly progressive candidate, actually, though she is in the CPC. But she was virtually unopposed. There wasn't data on the people who were opposing her. Someone by the name of David Russ was a Republican opposing her. In outside spending, he got $0 in support of him, $4,149 that were opposed to him. Suzanne Bonamici got $29 in outside spending supporting her. So this was a quiet race, to say the least. Just by looking at the first tab, we can see that. The candidates tab, we see Suzanne Bonamici got 68% of the vote, so she won rather handily. She got $75,000 roughly in small contributions. Her large contributions were $395,533, meaning she was dependent on the wealthy to a fair extent, 38.46% of the contributions. And she was a PAC person, getting $564,100.
Okay, Joe, you gotta put it up on the screen.
Oh, thank you very much for
You're welcome. I just tuned in myself. I was like, oh, he hasn't have it up on the screen.
again. Getting old. Getting old. Bonnie laughs.
You are old.
You are old. Thanks.
Oh my.
Okay, so those PAC contributions, 54.58% of what she raised. So between the PAC contributions and the large individual contributions, that was just about, well, it was over 90% of what she raised. So that's a total fail of the litmus test. Okay. Total fail of the litmus test. Who are the sectors supporting her? We'll just take a look at the sectors briefly. Okay, I take it Greg's not doing a show at 10 o'clock, D? Okay, is
No,
that
he's not.
okay? So we can have a few more minutes here. So she's in a little bit of a rural district, so she got 46,408, okay, from agribusiness, 53,870 from the communications electronics sector, construction, $30,600, 17,400 from defense, energy, natural resources, 26,636 from the fire sector, 81,249 from the health sector, $87,430. Lawyers and lobbyists, 101,650. So she's popular with the lawyers and lobbyists. Transportation, $46,560. From labor, $134,750. So she's popular with labor too. And miscellaneous business, $81,280. Ideology, single issue groups, $59,431. And the category of other, $107,698. Just taking a look at the PACs category, see if we can learn a little more. Business PACs, 383,400. Labor PACs, 134,500. Ideological PACs, 33,012. Other PACs, 11,000. So she was heavy into business PACs. And from the other pages, we saw the businesses that were interested in her and that gave her money. One more look at the outside spending. So this race did not attract super PACs. There was a little super PAC money going against David Russ, okay, who was a Republican here. I don't think even got on the ballot. And Suzanne Bonamici got $29 from super PACs carry committees in support of her. So the outside group spending money in this race, the Democratic Party gave Oregon, outside group spending money in this race, but not giving money to the candidates, but giving money outside of the campaigns. Okay, Democratic Party of Oregon, they're a PAC. They gave $11. Planned Parenthood gave $8. Sierra Club Independent Action gave $10. And Take Back Oregon PAC gave $4,149, but that was in opposition to the Republican candidate. So that was kind of the extent of the super PAC money and its influence in that particular race. So this was a quiet race. There was really no competition. There wasn't a large amount of money raised. There wasn't a large amount of outside spending. But the pattern of funds that were raised is the usual pattern we're seeing. Contributions over $200, which means they have to come from people who are well off enough to make contributions over $200 to someone. So you're taking money from wealthy people. And then there's the PACs. Over half the money came from PACs. So that's another failure of the litmus test, this time for Suzanne Bonamici. Something interesting occurs to me in going over these things. The super PACs are not active where the races aren't hot in some way. They get active in competitive races that they think are in doubt or could be placed in doubt by the money that they're going to spend. Something I've also noticed is if you're popular with the party committees, if you're in good standing with the party committees, they can save your butt because they can mobilize large contributions in your favor when you're facing a dangerous candidate who has very strong fundraising and expects good outside spending in their favor. So it was clear from the Matt Cartwright race tonight, I think, that the Democrats did not want Matt Cartwright to be defeated. So they came up with all kinds of PAC money in support of him and some considerable outside spending as well. So I think that observation accounts for some of the reason why so many Democrats are compliant to the leadership of the Democratic Party in the House. Because if you have a tough challenge coming up, or think you have a tough challenge, or think you have a potential for a tough challenge, you want that party leadership behind you because otherwise you'll be swamped financially. That gives the party leadership an unusual amount of power, and I think is part of the reason why they're able to whip people into line. This is especially true for Nancy Pelosi, because she, of course, was particularly skilled at the fundraising herself, and she could also influence others to get in back of a particular candidate. Now, Matt Cartwright is a fairly progressive candidate, but he still got an awful lot of private money in support of him, an awful lot of PAC money in support of him, and an awful lot of party money in support of him. So I think that's how they keep people in line. If they decide they're not going to support you, you could really be drained of money pretty quickly. Unless you have robust fundraising effort of your own. Now, Matt Cartwright had that to some degree. I mean, he could raise $443,000 on his own. But in a race where the outside spending itself is going over $12 million, 443,000 in grassroots support, okay, is not enough to get your message out facing that kind of messaging disadvantage. Now, Cartwright did not have that kind of messaging disadvantage because the super PACs were equally behind him. In part, I think that was due to party influences and interest group influences. Okay, this means to me that our Dump the Corruption campaign, as it gets going, has to be very, very successful in beating people in primaries based on somebody running a Dump the Corruption campaign against someone else who's very well funded. We'll have to prove early on that Dump the Corruption candidates can be very successful, even though they raise only small individual contributions. So I think that's kind of interesting. So what do you think about that, Dee?
We have some trip going forward with this dump the corruption. You know, it's so corrupt, so in-depthly corrupt.
Yes. We have a great task ahead of us, but we can't do anything except to complete this task, because to just leave the corruption there, I mean, that will doom us all.
Oh, will definitely.
And as
It's
hard
gotta
as
stop
it is, we
this.
cannot leave it there. We have to overturn it.
Right.
We have to make people see how important the idea of voting against people who take this kind of support is. There are some interesting comments here. Of course, there are the greetings to everyone. Steve Gostart says, BlackRock / Vanguard owns R.R. DeWine. Does that mean that the railroads own DeWine? Probably. Outsourced response to train wreck in East Palestine. Face orange frowning, keyword train wreck. Face red, droopy eyes. That's the icon Gostart left that we can't see in this interface. So Gostart says, I'm 247 miles west of East Palestine. Hand orange covering eyes. Kay says, yes, Ohio is a mess in too many ways. She says, I'm in the country just west of there. Was the wind blowing west or east, Kay? Can you smell what rocky, what, sorry, I can't read that. What rock is doing? Does it smell like chemicals, face blue, wide eyes, judging online? It's a lot more widespread than reported. Face orange frowning. I'm sure it is. They always try to hide what really happened if it's bad news. And so Brandy and Gostart greet each other. Kay says the wind was blowing east at the time. So that's a little lucky for you, Brandy. Ghostart replies to Kay, face orange, biting nails. Apparently, it's affecting Canada too. The maps of possible contaminated areas is insane. Face future tongue out. There's a plume heading down the Ohio River. Oh, wonderful. Yes, Steve, I can't get out of here though. List of politicians taking money from railway barons is ridiculous. K. Ron, if you start showing symptoms, you better find a way out. Ghostdot says, K. Ryan, how many miles away are you? K says, his next county east. I have no car, DL, or anything. I'm stuck here. I'm sorry, Kay. But Brandy says, I'm sorry, Kay and Ghostdot, that you are both so close. Be safe. And if it rains or snows, stay inside. Kay Ryan says, yes, Brandy, I hate Ohio. So that's the last of our comments. So thank you all for coming. I hope this was of some interest, to you. I know that when I do these programs on fundraising, the pattern is very similar. And so there's not really that much incentive to come and to hear this. But I think it's important that we prove that nobody in the CPC, and by implication, nobody in the rest of the Congress either, can pass the litmus test, that they're all taking money, and many of them are taking big money. Okay, many of them, they're bought in some way. It's a rare person who wouldn't be bought by operating in the framework of that big money. So it's very important to know that nobody in the CPC can pass the litmus test.
No, no one has.
It suggests the whole CPC, and by implication, the whole Congress, needs to be replaced by people who are not taking any of that money.
Right, because we need someone that's going to represent us and be a positive influence in the world.
And not represent the donors.
Exactly.
Represent us. And if they're going to represent us, their funding has to be based on small donations only. I think that's the real message here.
Yes, I agree.
So for tonight, I'm going to say good night. I'll have something different for you tomorrow, because Tuesday and Thursdays are general empowering democracy streams. Last night, of course, I did a stream on the war, and in the past also, I've been doing streams on the $1 trillion coin and what its its role might be. So tomorrow night's stream is going to be a very interesting stream, I think.
Yes.
And Ghostart says, yep, even EPA's out. The railroad is in charge of it all. Brandy says, I hate Arkansas most of the time. I know, Brandy, and I know you're stuck there for family reasons also. Okay, folks, it's been a pleasure. And I'll see you again tomorrow. I'll most probably be on Brandy and Dee show also tomorrow.
Yes, you will be. And if anybody hasn't liked, shared, and subscribed, please do that right now. Subscribe to Joseph Firestone.
And please like, share, and subscribe to Around the World with Brandy and Dee. And in addition, when Greg comes back, which we do expect soon, please like, share, and subscribe to the Revolution Evolution show. Most nights of the week, we have these 3 shows running. So that gives you 3 good hours of YouTubing.
Yes, it does. I enjoy it.
Okay, good night, folks.
Yes, good night, and thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you very much.